when you are looking at the redistricting map, there is we'd said this when redistricting happened. There are going to be some Republicans that are going to get a really bad deal because as the metro area grows and the metro area is fairly Democratic, you're going to have some redistricting where a Republican seat is going to become, well, it is a definite DFL lean. And you really can kind of say that about our good friend Roger Chamberlain. Oh, boy, the Raj, Mr. Hand Gesture himself. Raj up in 36, his district changed probably more than anyone else's, and not for his side, which is a good thing, which brings me to my Democrat of the day today. Running for the DFL Senate District 36, Heather Gustafson is kind enough to join us. She's the DFL endorsed candidate for that race, and she's kind enough to take some time to talk about her campaign. Hi, Heather. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I'm very happy to talk to you about because I want Raj gone, man. I want Raj gone so bad.
Yes.
Let's start off just introducing yourself. Who exactly is Heather Gustafson?
Yeah, so I am a mom. I am a public high school history teacher, community volunteer. I've lived in Vadnais Heights about 12 years.
Nice.
We are just a family like most kind of suburban Minnesota families where most of our free time is not really free time. It belongs to our kids and all of their activities. But yeah, my husband is an avid hunter, angler. We have a hunting cabin in Wisconsin.
Nice.
I'm from a small town. I'm from central Minnesota, Sartell, which is not small anymore, but when I was growing up, it was very small. So, I feel like I'm kind of one of those people who, grew up in one area of Minnesota and like put down roots in another part of Minnesota, but it all feels a little bit like the same, right? The same values and concerns that are there are here as well. So,
well, and I love how you just said that because you're right. I mean, I was up today, I was up in Taylor's Falls and I'm going through these areas and I mean, these people are raising kids. They're hunting, they're fishing. Imagine there was a lot of people up in that area for fishing opener. You got a lot of things that are the same there. I do find the fact that we do feel as if there is them and us, especially pushed from the rights mentality. I think that's just no. It's just we're all human beings. We're all Minnesotans. We're all in this together. And you may disagree on policy, but we're still other humans. For goodness sakes, we should not forget that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember after I was endorsed, there was a guy came up to me and he said, I was looking at your website and it says that you belong to Pheasants Forever and Ducks Unlimited. Is that true? And I said, yes. I'm not a hunter. My husband is, but I belong to them because of all of the great conservation work that they do.
Indeed.
And he was, and he was like, that's amazing. I'm also in those groups. And it's one of the reasons why I always supported Jamie Becker Finn. He's like, I feel like the Democrats don't always welcome people like me into the group. And I saw that as like an opportunity when I feel like we do that a lot, right? We see somebody who's got camo on, or we see somebody who's like talks about their weekend hunting. And we just assume right off the bat that they must be somebody who votes only Republican. And we should stop doing that because a lot of those people, I mean, hunters and anglers are some of the biggest conservationists ever because, right, like their favorite hobby depends on clean water, clean air, clean soil. So they don't want to lose any of that. And so they can also like be in that fight to protect some of our environmental resources as well. And then also just, I think when we just lower the temperature a little bit and just talk to people, we realize that there are a lot of similarities there. We don't need to just assume that we know someone's voting record just by taking a look at them. They could be somebody that might not identify as DFL, might not identify as Republican, but is like willing to hear our side out because we're not extreme. We can be trusted. We are not somebody who is going to like dissemble all of the things that we like about our state, right? We like about our communities, that we like about, just being active citizens. And so, that is what I hear when I'm door knocking, right? I hear a lot of people will say, I'm independent. I don't really identify, but I can't see myself voting for Republicans right now. They're just too extreme.
Well, and there you just said it. One thing we should mention is there's a difference between a Republican and a guy like Roger Chamberlain. Chamberlain is not a mainstream Republican. He is out on that far right fringe. And what you just said is something I saw a lot yesterday after the GOP convention, where it was suburban Republicans who say, I voted Republican a long time, but I can't vote for this. This is QAnon. This is Trump Uberalis. That's not what I'm about. And so right now there is an opportunity, I think, for the Democrats to look at some of these former Republican voters and say that are not on board with this far right extremism that's been pushed out there by Republicans, especially like Roger Chamberlain. And I think that's the opportunity there. But if we can as well. I've done this show for 12 years. When I started doing this district, even where you're at here on the north side, Vadnais Heights, Lino Lakes, Circle Pines, what other towns are in there?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm trying to remember which ones you just said because I kind of rattle them off in my head too. So we have Birchwood Village, Gem Lake, Vadnais Heights, Lino Lakes, Circle Pines, Centerville, White Bear Lake Township or White Bear Township, and North Oaks. Mm-hmm. And I think I got them all. And if I didn't, somebody call me and I will correct it.
I believe you got them all too.
Yeah, there's just it's a lot of things to kind of rattle around. I need to kind of come up with an algorithm of some sort to help me remember. But yeah, I mean, great area. So I, of course, have lived in Vadnais in this area for a while and pretty active in 36B, whereas kind of the area that I lived in, but I worked at Centennial for over 5 years. So at Centennial High School is in Circle Pines. Mm-hmm. And is one of the two largest school districts in our Senate district. The other one is, of course, White Bear Lake. And so yeah, I know that community very well, too. I spent, when you're a teacher, you spend an enormous amount of time in your school district. And, of course, you get to know the community, you teach their kids, and you're involved and you're active and you're, you just get to know the families really well. So I do feel pretty connected there. We're Catholics. We go to St. Joe on the lakes. That's in Lino Lakes. We're also, so I feel like there's like I feel like I know my community pretty well and I'm getting to know them better and better. And just the more I hear, the more I realize like how important it is and how much is at stake.
Well, it's funny too because you said that is like I'm a Democrat because of my Catholic faith. I absolutely it's Gospel of Matthew. Tell me I'm wrong in there. But one of the things I found that's interesting about this district too. As it has grown in 12 years, this district has gone from a relatively reliable Republican district. But as this grown, you're getting growth. You're getting metro area growth. You're getting a lot of people moving up there. It's a great place to live. It's a lot of people are moving up there. It has definitely taken a turn towards the DFL side. This is a seat that the DFL really should be able to pick up this election cycle.
Okay. Yes, but
nothing for granted. Nothing for granted. We all have to work.
Right.
This is a. As I started off with. I mean, when you look at the redistricting, Chamberlain's district went from I think it was a +1 Republican. This is a Democratic seat now. It is voted Democrat reliably. So this is if you get out there, you door knock. We volunteer. Yeah. If people are out there phone banking, donating, door knocking for Heather, that's a seat that the DFL can count on.
Well, but we still are operating as, I just want to make it clear, like we are operating as if we're underdogs because while the numbers might say one thing, Roger Chamberlain has been elected and reelected several times. I believe this is his 4th or 5th time he's asking for this job. And so we know that he's going to have a ton of money. He's going to have a whole bunch of PAC support. They'll bring in outsiders who are going to have like terrible things to say about us. And they're going to say all sorts of things that aren't true and attack us and go into the neighborhoods and say things. And he's established and the GOP doesn't want to lose this seat. So they're going to be competitive too. So we're operating like an underdog campaign. We are working hard and we are not going to stop working hard until election night. And so, that's where we're at. I mean, that's the mindset that we bring into it. It's just like we are the underdogs and we're not taking a look at any numbers and we're not looking at any trends. We are just out in the neighborhoods meeting as many people as we can and trying to connect with everybody where they're at.
I do have a great campaign idea for a billboard campaign. If you have, I got some images of Roger with some hand gestures, which I think would be magnificent to air up in your district. That being said, I want to get back to some meat and potatoes for you. You're a teacher. You've been working in education. God bless you. You're magnificent. All teachers are magnificent. You went through an insane cycle those last 2.5 years. And yet here we are. There is no more stark difference between a Republican plan and a DFL plan than when you look at those education bills. And the Republicans, nothing for each school district. Zero across the state. These school districts, I mean, we see where we're going. You've had to work on the fly. Teachers have had to be malleable and as elastic as possible when dealing with these education plans, dealing with classes, dealing with how kids are learning. They need the funding in place. The DFL is trying to provide that. The Republicans are saying no. That's simple.
Right. Well, and so as people know or may not know, Roger Chamberlain is the head of the Education Finance Committee. So he oversees, and whenever we say, like, please do something to help us, and we kind of just like throw that message at everybody in the legislature, he really is one of those people who could do it. Like, he has the control and the power to kind of say, yes, we will fund, and no, we won't fund, right? And he's chosen to say no. Now, what he would say is that he put together a very robust literacy program and that he's trying to fight dyslexia. And I believe that those are two things that are worthy causes. However, we're falling very short of what schools need. And as much as you want to put as much faith as he puts into the letters program, I will just push back to say that when we have overcrowded classrooms, not enough staff, and we're not fully funding special education, then it doesn't matter what program you want to push on public school teachers. It's not going to get done unless we address those things first. It's also important to remember that there are all sorts of things that happen within a school district that he apparently is not aware of. I mean, we rank somewhere around 48th on the list of the 50 United States on our ratio of school counselors to students. And I don't have the numbers like totally memorized, but it's somewhere around, like, for every school counselor the ratio is like, then it's 500 students or something like that. It's bad, I guess is what I mean to say, right? Like, and every state around us beats us. The Dakotas beat us, Wisconsin beats us, Iowa beats us. That's unacceptable for lots of reasons, not just mental health, which is extremely important, but also school counselors are in charge of helping you pick out your classes for next year, helping you find what you need to apply for colleges or trade schools or go into the military or the job force. I mean, all of these things are being sort of swept under the rug because there just isn't the staff. That could have been dealt with funding. When I was at Centennial, I had more than one class that had over 40 kids in it. We only had like 38 desks. So it was like, if everybody was there that day, then some kids had to sit on the floor. They'd sit on my desk. They'd have to go in the hallway. We had a printing quota, so like we can print over a certain amount. And so the way to battle that was Chromebooks, but we only had 20 Chromebooks, and not every one of them worked. And I mean, these are all things that need to be addressed with funding, right? This isn't like I think when you get into the weeds of some of the programs, like, folks start to kind of tune out a little bit, but everybody understands how bad it is when classes are overcrowded. Like, everybody gets that, because what a parent does on open house night is they kind of take a look at how many people are on the roster, like how many students are there for one teacher. And then they can do the math and they can go, hey, this isn't okay. And that's the part where we need, like, help at a policy level that we just can't do, like, just within school boards and just within local communities, right? Like, we need the help of the legislature there. And it's a totally missed opportunity. Well, an historic surplus that he just totally missed out.
It's a basic math problem. And the reality is it is. But it's also why they're not doing that is also a basic math problem. They don't want more teachers. They don't like Education Minnesota. They don't want more teachers. It is the same thing they've been doing. So they basically will say, we'll do anything outside of, well, they won't do anything, but they're definitely not going to give you more teachers, but, bigger, smaller class sizes, because that's what their whole goal is to defeat the teachers union. And if that's if that's your goal, that's not an education, platform. You're not educating kids. You're just trying to punish a union. And I think it is a basic math problem. If you have over, say, 25 kids in a classroom, that's too many. You should figure out a way to be able to hire more teachers, bring in more staff, and be able to limit that number. And the Republicans just refuse to address that problem because it's against them to have more union workers, and that's just an unfortunate element of what's going on.
Plus, they're so hyper-focused on Minneapolis and St. Paul, and when they have these policies and they refuse to fund schools, they forget that hurts the whole state. There are people in rural areas who are depending on a lot of that funding that they can only get, and they're being hurt too, but they're so hyper-focused on Minneapolis and St. Paul that they just lose sight of the fact that, like, suburban and rural districts are being hurt by these bad decisions too.
I think it's always funny when I hear these guys out in these Republican areas of the state who are saying, they put out this rhetoric and then they have the audacity to look at me. It's like, why can't our local school find any teachers? Really? You don't know why you can't find people to want to work for you in your school when you vilify them day and night? No, okay, yeah. It's like, if you're for the schools, you're for the teachers, you're for the students, you're for the administration, you're for the quality of education. It's not just pick and choose and fine. He's doing a literacy program. That is an incredibly small, narrow wedge of education that he's trying to say is, see, I'm good at this, and he's not. So we've got to replace him. Once again, you're right. Heather Gustafson, once again, Senate District 36. This is the North Metro. Very easy to get to. This is a former, this is a district before redistricting was definitely a Republican district. Now, well, it's definitely in the air. Roger Chamberlain, we can take out Roger Chamberlain and make sure that he is not in the Senate in 2022. All we have to do is get up there and help Heather. So, Heather, if people are interested in going and helping your campaign, whether it's volunteering, donating, how can they do that?
Yeah, so my name is Heather Gustafson, which is a very Minnesota name, but we shortened up our website. So it's voteforgus.com. So voteforgus.com.
Voteforgus.com. I'll link to that. I'll link to that as well in all the social media pages. If you're in a DFL area, that's a guaranteed slam dunk safe seat. I'm in Hopkins. The DFL's gonna win that seat. I'll go out on a limb here. I'm feeling pretty confident for Cheryl Youakim at this point and Ron Latz. That being said, if you're in a safe district, get up just to the North Metro. This is not across the state. You're just to the North Metro. If you door knock on every door in that district, the DFL will win. That's the goal. So we need to get door knockers. We need phone bankers. We need volunteers, and we need donations. Once again, Heather, what is the website for people to go to?
Voteforgus.com.
Voteforgus.com. Heather Gustafson, it's Senate District 36, just on the north side of town. Heather, all my best in this campaign. You're right. Treat it like you're way behind, but the reality is we can win this seat, and with you there, I feel pretty good about things. So all my best as we run through this election cycle.
Thank you so much.